Because I do think that both of these players are extremely talented individuals who have had strong rises over the past couple of years, but both of them I think most people consider to be just barely one step below the absolute top notch of the competitors. And I think, again, this is going to be a big opportunity. Even to say if you can advance out of your group in first place, you get seeded into the round of 8, you get to skip an entire round of the playoffs where you could potentially dodge some incredibly good players and really just increase your chances of making it to the semis, making it to the finals.
Indeed, dude. That round of 12, it's always a rough one, and just that beautiful prize of getting first place in your group. It's like, oh, come on, please, please, please.
Oh yes, I don't have to play Dark or Rogue or someone like that. Yeah, it's not, you know, small beans in terms of the competitors you get to skip playing.
Some pretty sick prizes there, yeah. Sometimes you kind of, you know, go through an upper bracket without dropping a series, and at the end they're like, you get a map advantage, or sometimes not even that. There's no advantage. And this one, it's like, all right, skip a whole round, not bad at all. Now, HeroMarine has played safer. He's gone for the SCV Scout, sees the factory. No attempt to wall off there by Bunny. Instead, he's put the spotting depot on the top where the Reaper ledge is. Of course, Bunny did not go for that SCV Scout, so he's happy playing a little bit riskier. Now, we talk about that risk as if it's like, yeah, against a Terran player, because they could proxy 3-Rex you. But you're playing HeroMarine. He's not going to open up this series with a proxy 3-Rex. Like, yeah, he's a bit more aggressive and unpredictable than he used to be, but I like the risk from Bunny. I think it's a very small risk, and it's a good way to get just a bit of extra mineral mining at the start. Your command center is going to be down earlier. Kickstart to your build order. Well done.
Yeah, it's definitely going to show a little bit of the difference in mentality that both these players are going to be approaching this series with, just because Big Gabe is well known for being that kind of standard, safe player that says, yeah, I have a lot of confidence in my overall long-term gameplay style. And I think Bunny is definitely the player who's willing to throw out a couple of risks here and there, because he knows it does also make him a less predictable and harder to beat player.
Indeed. Nightmares about the multi-drops of Bunny, even at a time when he was really not as respected as a player. There'd be these like beautiful moments where he'd be playing a Terran versus Zerg and suddenly have 4 different drops going at once in different areas, and not a single unit would be going down every time, picking them up before they die. And it's just kind of like him. He's got that talent, that skill, the speed. He started to back it up and round it out, because in 2022, you cannot be a one-dimensional player and compete at this level. You have to have the full toolkit.
Absolutely, especially when you're competing at this high of a level as these players are. Now, we do have that Widow Mine opening up over there from Bunny, so he's going to have that as a nice little safety precaution if HeroMarine decide to push across the map, but he hasn't really. He's been sticking back at home to his base, not really diverting too far off. Bunny did go for a little bit of scouting around on his side of the map, checking for any potential proxies or anything, but here we go. HeroMarine got his 3rd Hellion, got his 3rd Reaper, and is ready to try and poke forward. And Bunny's going to be able to spot this out very shortly if you move that Hellion just a little bit further forward, but just barely misses it.
Yeah, this is a big attack. If they can dive in and get on top of it, will be big. But the Widow Mine is always a big obstacle to this sort of aggression. HeroMarine's going to need to just split a Reaper, preferably in front of his army, pull the Widow Mine splash away from the rest of his force if he wants to dive in there. But interestingly enough, HeroMarine not diving in. Looks like he's going to wait. He's going to hope, hey, if he hasn't seen me, he doesn't know I've committed in these units. If I attack into a Widow Mine and the Cyclone on the ramp, it doesn't go well. But if I wait, maybe he comes out to me, I get a free Cyclone moving out on the map to scout, a couple Hellions, and then I can run in and kill the workers.
Oh, I really like that. Just playing around with the information his opponent doesn't have is a really, really great maneuver. Now, we do have the Cyclones and stuff coming out behind this for HeroMarine, and you can see that Bunny didn't really have too much of a chance to get that kind of stuff out as much so. He does have one Cyclone sitting inside the main base, but he's not really moving anything out right now, so it doesn't seem like HeroMarine's really finding the juicy kind of surprise that he was potentially looking for, especially now that there's a siege tank forward. There's just no way HeroMarine can really push further in with those units.
Yeah, that seems to be something that he's kind of accepted was, okay, look, if you don't see it, I'll try to set up the ambush, hope you step into my trap. Hasn't happened, no worries, stay patient. You'll notice there's no Marines building for HeroMarine. So, unlike his namesake, as I say, 2 Marines queue up, first one's in about a minute and a half. That's, well, why? It's because he wanted the fast 3rd command center. How do you save minerals? And even there, he actually decides to cancel that and swap the starport over. And he is indeed actually going full-on mech. I was like, surely you do want to add some Marines, but my lord, he is actually going to play mech in TVT. I love the mix-up.
This is going to be really funny because I want to know, as Bunny throws down his own 3rd CC around this, not too far behind HeroMarines, when is he going to be moving out? When is he going to be getting information? Because so far, Bunny has been playing very close to the chest. He has not done anything. He is going to finally move out. Burrows, I wouldn't mind a little bit further forward after losing the first Reaper, and then just backs off. It's going to be a while, it feels like, before he's really going to get the information he wants, unless he decides to go for, say, auto-charge harassment or a big push here with the siege tanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many Ravens Gabe went, but I think it's 2 for each of them, and indeed it is. The Viking production is pretty much in line. Defender's advantage will be there for Gabe, and he's also now being able to produce double tanks. Oh, he's actually going to go forward for a bit of a fight in the middle, but he does get caught out. Bit sloppy from Gabe. Most of his units survive. The Reapers will regenerate with those combat drugs. Hellion here being a nuisance, says you can't land here, and I can burn some SCVs down.
Oh.
And it's just going to be a bit of an annoying. And Bunny actually pulls his whole army home for that Fear Dragon, so this hasn't really done anything just yet. Of course, Bunny, he's gathered up a decent amount of units, and remember, his advantage is in the Marine count, but with some Reaper grenades, some good tank positioning, I don't really see this as being a scary moment for HeroMarine just now. It's more like when Stim, when shields and +1 kicks in, that's when I think the bio becomes much scarier for the mech player.
Yeah, look at this army movement, though, from Bunny. Even though his push has been delayed by the little singular Hellion that actually drew a lot of the army out of position, HeroMarine has no idea about how roundabout of a path Bunny's coming in from. And HeroMarine's units, a lot of them are on the front lines of Bunny's army. Now, HeroMarine may have just noticed the rally coming across the map. That should be a good indicator that something is coming. But HeroMarine, he's not entirely set up just yet. The scan comes down. HeroMarine tries to reposition. He gets the siege tank going, but the interference matrix on 3 of the siege tanks is going to make it really difficult.
That is massive. The Viking land was immediate from HeroMarine. It may be his saving grace. His Hellions come in. That one tank that was still firing goes down. The Reaper Hellion gets back here. The 3 tanks. The interference matrix wears off. And great scrambling home for HeroMarine. Bunny landing those Vikings, a bad idea. Thought he could take out the tanks. He trades 4 Vikings for 1 tank. HeroMarine with a fantastic hold with literally 0 time to prepare that defense. That was perfect.
That was incredible. Even with all 3 of the tanks getting interference matrix, he still got the siege up before it happened, so they were ready to fire as soon as that expired. He did, like you said, the quick reaction on the Vikings landing, and now going to be able to catch 2 tanks in the center of the map before they can really get home. Hellions, Reapers, and a Cyclone taking those units out. It feels like Bunny has next to nothing back behind all this, and HeroMarine is going to be storming on through for his first victory. GG.
HeroMarine looks super hyped there as well. He looks so excited. I think it's because he realizes that just winning 1 map in this series gives him such a good chance of going through. And of course, if he get a 2-0, good chance of that #1 spot in the group. Bunny, though, I've got to say, after that fight, it felt like he kind of fell apart a little bit. We've seen a lot of players make mistakes and then fight back and drag it out, but he decided to land the Vikings on the tanks. And then he went from there into, what, tanks just rallying out onto the map. He had to, you know, gather up his units and siege at home, and he didn't even start to get his defenses together. So definitely feels like Bunny was a little bit upset with how that fight went, thought it would work out a lot better for him.
Really unfortunate, and I feel like TVT is definitely one of those matchups where you can, it's not always easy by any way, shape, or form, but you can make comebacks happen even if you're at an army supply deficit. You can find positional advantages, especially on the defensive side, to try and mount some sort of defense, but if you're already losing some of the units as you're trying to retreat back because the siege tanks are still rallied across the map, if the Vikings also go down, you lose the air superiority of potential. Things are definitely not going to go your way on that defensive. So a little bit unfortunate. We're going to see if a Bunny can rally in game #2 and make something happen, because it was looking like a pretty interesting shaped game before that singular moment Bunny decided to pounce.
Yeah, really would have liked to see how the mech played out. Hey, we got to see 2 extra tanks come out for the mech, and that was it. The game was over. So not really a full-fledged mech game, but does show what he's made of. I believe Bunny had scanned the factories as well, so, you know, should have realized completely, yes, this was actually a mech build, and go into map #2 prepared for it. Not to say that he's going to do the same thing, though. I mean, these guys are always changing it up in this tournament. We've seen a lot of prepared builds so far.
I mean, we definitely know that HeroMarine is one of those players that does look heavily at the map, seeing what's successful on particular maps, and it's still going to be a question left whether or not he feels like this could be another mech map. But here we are in 2,000 atmospheres. We're going to be starting up here in the top right-hand side of the map, top of the red Terran player. He is Team Envy's Bunny.
And his opponent in the bottom left side, the blue Terran player, hailing from Germany and representing Mouse Sports, it's HeroMarine. I like the little soundtrack there, very nice.
Definitely has a little flavor, yeah. Fun little fact there. Not to actually, you know what? I was gonna call out production by the fact that I think HeroMarine is miscapitalized there. It's actually the capital R, on both ends of the Hero and Marine. Then it's alternating caps, except the I and the N in Marine are both lowercase.
Ah, you gotta get the leet speak in there, right?
Yeah.
He's a 1337 gamer. Yes.
Yeah, but it does look like HeroMarine is actually just going by the ID HeroMarine with capital H, capital M. So, well done, production. You win this time.
All right, Fear Dragon in his vendetta against the production team. Production 1, Fear Dragon 0, but we will keep you guys updated on how that war does go on as the event continues. For now, it is going to be a very similar opening, but HeroMarine also skipping the scout, so both players are this time around in game number 2. Going to give them both a bit of a mineral bump up there as the SCV mining isn't lost so early on in the game. And as the factories go down, we expect a few workers to pull off both sides gas geysers. Allows them to get a bit more minerals. You can see 2 workers on one gas, 1 on the other. And then they can, of course, take that command center right around the 2-minute 20 mark. So it's kind of like get the factory up because Reapers and Hellions kind of keep you alive early game. They give you the ability to do some very mobile pressure and scouting. But you delay the starport. You say, we don't need to get into that just yet. So it's kind of halfway between your standard expand build and your straight up one base build. Very standard.
Middle of the road for both of those players. I think another fun little tidbit is going to be whether or not these players send their Reapers across the map to actually go for any of that scouting information, especially when the second Reaper pops. Bunny going to be adventuring a little bit further onto HeroMarine's side of the map, even tags as Zelnago Watchtower, just getting maximum vision potential, as he is going to potentially start moving on in. Now, HeroMarine does have 2 Reapers, but he's moving them out, and that is going to give the potential for Bunny to move in, scout out that command center, and then back off.
It would be very risky to commit in there. You don't know where the Reapers are. If you go in deep there's no way out. You will lose the Reaper, which is usually a pretty bad trade for just one SCV. HeroMarine, he's trying to go in, and I said it's pretty risky. Well, he's going to take that risk, and he's going to get punished.
Yep. First Hellion has already popped on out. It is going to be going down over here, but finding 1 Hellion in exchange for 2 Reapers that seem to have a little suicidal death wish there.
Well, if you're going to go down, you might as well throw some firecrackers at your feet so it looks cool.
Yeah, well, it's going to be up in the air on that one, quite literally. But we do have another one of these little Widow Mine openings, but this is going to actually be from HeroMarine this time. So the Widow Mine going to potentially be able to zone out the Reapers if he's not careful. And ooh, interesting positioning actually on the Widow Mine from Bunny. But these Reapers going to be able to circumvent the Widow Mine for now. Hellion going to make it very unappealing to hop into the main base at this moment.
Yeah, that's the old Abe Simpson. Yeah, but go in there, turn around, take it out of that rack, and immediately leave the base. Good choice for those Reapers. Now, it's a very late medevac coming in. Well, not that late, I guess, but it's not like the super, super fast one for Bunny. So he's going to be loading up with Marines, potentially a Cyclone as well, getting across the map and doing some flexible pressure. It's low commitment, but it does slow down his Raven. Whereas HeroMarine's going straight into the Ravens. He's got his own Cyclones on the way. If he can defend this pressure efficiently, he'll be very happy with that. And he's actually repositioned that Widow Mine, as you could see, up to the little high ground ledge there. Very nice spot. Sometimes on some maps you can put it there and you can hit a tank that drops.
Cyclone locks onto the, I believe, Reaper over there for Bunny, and now we have Cyclone locking onto the other Cyclone. Bunny going to be taking this fight over here. It gets very awkward very fast, but that Widow Mine going to try and find a connection. Not able to find anything so far. Bunny definitely had a unit disadvantage, but the medevac for Bunny really adding in a lot of sustainability to this attack.
Yeah, instantly, every one of HeroMarine's lock-ons, you could see the targeting laser from that Cyclone lock onto a Marine. Didn't get a single tick off, not once. The medevac just picked up the Marine, broke the lock, and then just dropped it back out again. Great micro from Bunny using the flexible pressure that medevac enables. He's got a 3rd command center going down behind this and is going to start picking away this depot on the ledge. Great plays by Bunny. But likewise, HeroMarine, you can see that command center very far from the ledge. He does not want that to get picked off by the Cyclone.
Yeah, a lot of good strategic decisions coming out of HeroMarine in comparison to the micro potential there of Bunny. So a little supply block coming on out as we are seeing another skirmish over here. The Raven taking a few shots, but we can see the Cyclone damage over there from Bunny is really great. This Siege Tank, though, is going to put an end to that little poking and prodding on the low ground of a 3rd base location. And Bunny is going to have to at least rotate around, and he's got a siege tank now to join this fray.
Yeah, I mean, he really does not have any significant army advantage over HeroMarine, but Bunny is looking for the positioning advantage. It's just catch him from surprising angles, keep him uncomfortable, and hopefully he messes up his macro a little bit and slows it down. And hey, if he does mess up, you're suddenly in his natural, you're killing workers. Whereas if you mess up, you've got a lot of space to retreat, gather your defenses together before you then have to commit to that next step.
This army gathering up on the right-hand side, getting a few more reinforcements before trying to poke in. And we'll see if HeroMarine is going to actually catch wind of it right now. HeroMarine does have that singular spotter just around those destructible rocks to try and see what's going to be happening from that angle. It is actually the Widowmine, interestingly enough. Is it actually going to get a lock on? Cyclone plus the Raven, a little bit too strong. He does see the angle of the potential attack, so Bunny going to be happy with the little free pickings he got there and back on off. I want to note that there was also a Widowmine, I believe, from Bunny over by the low ground third base of HeroMarine. Also got that picked off as well.
Trades on all sides, but Bunny, with the map control, you can see the pressure it puts on HeroMarine. The worker count just slowly creeping ahead because Bunny's so unafraid. He's hitting all his macro at home. He's also going to make it very hard to secure this third base. It's a great way. This is what you do in TVT. It's about positional advantages, and not a great siege up there for HeroMarine. Does get a few big volleys off on the Marines, but man, his tanks are going down. He loses 2 tanks. Interference matrix goes down. It's not a good one. He's going to try and spam out the matrices and land. Will he be able to clear these tanks? He does, and pulls back from the auto turrets. Good withdrawal from HeroMarine, but the auto turrets are hot on his tail. The Vikings of Bunny do take out his air units, but the tanks stand strong on the ground.
I think Bunny's going to be a lot happier with how a lot of those trades started panning on out. As you can see, the army supply for Bunny just radically further ahead compared to HeroMarines. The siege tank losses are going to be a nice pickup there for HeroMarine in the end, but I mean, he's traded a handful of his own siege tanks, and just looking at the production also, you can see Bunny is going to be adding on additional barracks. He's looking like he's been so comfortable because he has been. His third base has not been under any threat this game. In fact, I would say Bunny hasn't been under any threat this game. This Cyclone is the first bit of pressure since HeroMarine ran 2 Reapers in.
Yeah, just going to grab a couple of SCV kills. 3 SCVs is not bad, or only 2 in fact is what he got, but does have to pull the Cyclone back. Will get caught by Bunny most likely. Bunny is, of course, only up 2 workers, and as the production and the upgrades do catch up for HeroMarine, it's like we're looking at a set of nice leads that have been built by Bunny, but they are still small leads. And what do they really translate to in the numbers? Well, you pointed it out, army supply advantage. And he's a bit ahead on the upgrades and the tech. So what this is going to do is it's going to open up a few windows where he could push, right? I'm already looking at that production tab and I'm thinking about, okay, when combat shields is done, that could be a good one. When your 1-1 upgrades are finished, that could be nice as well. Obviously, we look at the army supply, you're already up about 7 army supply. And just by constantly posturing like this, you're going to keep HeroMarine very paranoid. At this point, he probably needs to build a sensor tower just because he's going to have to use so many scans to keep track of where these tanks are coming from. And there's so many opportunities where you're just patiently looking for an opening. And if HeroMarine doesn't present one, well, that's fine. You've already got your 4th command center on the way because you're pressuring aggressively. You can be greedy behind it. You've got your armory. 2nd factory will probably be going down very shortly for Bunny, I'd expect. There we go. Enters the production tab right then. Bunny is looking fantastic. He's controlling the pace. But what I love about this is it doesn't feel like he's trying to force the issue. Yeah,
just staying one little bit, one small little centimeter outside of the range of an actual engagement until he sees an opportunity. He feels like he's found one. Interference matrix on both of HeroMarine siege tanks. The Viking War also going to go heavily in favor of Bunny, as well as these Marines decimating HeroMarine's army count. Now, some of the Marines for Bunny are starting to get a little bit low, but I think he's already taken some great trades, and if he is able to secure this location, he secures the game. Tied up series 1-1.
Circling his prey until he senses that right moment. And you see him just dive onto the big game, sink his fangs into his neck and pull him to the ground. And honestly, like we said, not forcing it at all, but when the moment presented itself, how decisive was that? Just a big old ball of Marines stimming in. The interference matrix is on the tanks. SCVs versus Stim Marines. Not a very fun fight for the German player.
I think it's so difficult to actually pull off that kind of style really effectively as well as Bunny did. Because the things that you have to do, you have to, 1, have the multitasking capabilities in order to constantly keep an eye out on your army. Because you can't get jumped by your opponent. If your army is always sitting right outside of your opponent, they also can try and find an engagement or force a fight if you are not looking. Yeah. So 1, you have to have multitasking, and 2, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have the maturity to look at the situation and in a moment's notice say, no, okay, I'm not going to take this one, but still be willing to jump in if you do find the opportunity.
Indeed. It is something where trying to exert pressure on the front without, you know, actually meaning to take the fight and macro perfectly behind it. Well, these are the skills that a pro gamer works on over many years, and a guy like Bunny has perfected. I really love the way he just kind of controlled the pace there. That very first medevac survived for so very long, and it just allowed him to open that up. And it's so fascinating because, you know, when you're learning StarCraft and when you're not an expert pro player, you often think of an attack as, well, these guys run in there and they charge, and that's what an attack is. You see how flexible and fluid it is in the nature of the way these guys play, where it's moving forward and it's constantly kind of like a dance back and forth. And it's more you're waiting and trying to force a moment where your opponent makes a mistake. That's when you pounce forward and take advantage of it.
And I think it's really, really tough to imagine doing when you are yourself just basically using siege tanks. They're units that you oftentimes are considering fairly immobile units, but really, really cool to see. I love the crowd clearly getting energized.
There's a lot of High Templar here, a lot of Protoss fans. It's like a whole lot of Carla energy out there.
Look at all those side blades, man.
Oh, that's insane.
Pretty fantastic. All the Protoss players coming out for this Terran versus Terran.
Awesome to see. You know, it is, of course, such a reunification right now of the community here at Katowice 2022. It's such a fantastic chance for everybody to get back together. The pros still have a certain energy about them, seeing constantly them all kind of smiling. Even a lot of the players that have been eliminated, getting back out here to LAN, competing with their peers and the best. It's been a special experience for them. Not to say that they're happy with losing. These guys definitely want to go pretty darn far. They want that money, they want that trophy, and it really would be a career-defining moment for either Bunny or HeroMarine. To get out of the group would already be a pretty big first, but to get like a top 4 here at the World Championship would be so sick.
It would be incredible. It would really solidify their position in the history of StarCraft, I would say, to be able to make it in this kind of global finals that deep of a run and really move them up on the echelon of their ladder and their position, I would say, in the scene. So it looks like we're still waiting to get into game number 3 as things just sort of settle in, but map seems to have been picked on out in this tied-up series 1-1. Remember, first place still on the line. The potential of getting eliminated still on the line for these players, as well as the other matches that are also happening at the same time. Everything is going to be decided sometime during this game.
Heck yeah. Game 3 of a best of 3. There's no 4th-seeds, no 5th-seeds this time around. You got to get it done right here, right now. And this man, he's already on the comeback train in this series. Up here in the top right-hand side, representing Team Envy in the red, it is Bunny.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the blue Terran player from Mouse Sports, the Meisterschaft winner himself. He is HeroMarine.
The Meister of many, many Meisterschaft tournaments. Whoa! The crowd's on fire, mate!
It is absolutely lit out there, Pig.
Oh, my lord. People are excited to see some TVT, and to be fair, highest chance of buildings being set on fire. This is the matchup for it. Zerg buildings bleed, Protoss ones, I don't know what happens to them. There's sparks and stuff, bits of electricity that comes out of them as the pieces break off. But the Terran buildings are the ones that actually get set on fire and do burn down. Do you know the rules for how a building gets set on fire, Ravi?
I believe I do. It's at 33% that it starts burning?
I think so, yeah. I believe so.
Wait, did you ask me not knowing yourself?
That's what I always do. I just like to test people as if it's like something. No, it is actually exactly 33%. Yes. So.
Fun fact, I actually asked that to a lot of pro players, and I would say around 50% of them thought it was 50% hit points. It starts burning down. And I think there was one player, I'm not going to name names on this one active pro player who thought it was 75%.
What?
If a building, they thought if a Terran building had 75% of its hit points, it would start burning down.
Oh my gosh, these pro games. I mean, you just see, I saw the content yesterday I was playing with asking all the players, can you name the maps in the pool? And they're like, glittering ashes, Aliens? Forgot. I'm like, what? One map, really? Come on, guys.
It's pretty funny, but you know, as the more you talk with these players, you really do get a sense that so many players just have a feel for the game, right? There's just things that you feel, you don't necessarily know the exact amount of damage a Marine is doing with +2 weapons, but they can tell the difference after watching a Marine attacking something for 3 seconds, whether it has +1, +2, or +3 sometimes.
99% of the time, except if it's your own Colossus and you didn't get Colossus range, you'll never notice. If you've forgotten combat shields, it'll take you 7 battles before you realize, why are my Marines dying so quickly? And yes, this even happens to pro gamers far too many times.
That is still, to this day, one of my favorite little things to have happen in a PvP or a PvT, where you realize much later on, that in fact never came out. To quickly talk about this game, we did have some pretty normal openings, but I want to mention that we've had not too much scouting really happening on the map. Bunny did go scout around a little bit around his own base, but really just for proxies, didn't go across the map at all.
And he's actually done a 1-Rax expand, incredibly greedy build, but he got the quick factory up, so he's got these Hellions pumping out really early. So this was gas first into expand, I believe. He's got 4 Hellions coming out, so if HeroMarine were to do like a 3 Reaper 2 Hellion pressure, he's going to run into 4 Hellions. So that's very, very good for Bunny if he could get, as long as he gets any splash damage on the first volley, essentially. And behind that, are we going to see Banshees? Doubt it. Raven, there we go. Cyclones on the way for HeroMarine. So HeroMarine did kind of the same as what we saw in the previous 2 games. The double gas opening, much later command center. He's lower on economy, but he will have smoother tech, right? And that he's already got the Cyclone. The Raven's only a few seconds behind. Usually, even though you'd think, oh, Bunny's got better economy, I find that in this scenario, it's actually the player in HeroMarine's shoes who has the tech unit advantage right up until like sometimes the 8 or 9 minute mark.
Yeah, it's always tough to overcome some of those differences depending on the opening, but here's that massive swell of those Hellions coming across the map, and go figure, it would be Bunny to be a little bit aggressive, a little bit faster. HeroMarine actually splits off one of his Hellions over here, so he's going to be taking a slight engagement just for a moment's time with one less Hellion. Does have that high ground advantage, though, and you can see that I think he does get the better end of that in the end.
Yep, both players just go back home, and no chances being taken on either side as the third command center goes down for HeroMarine. HeroMarine starting a depot, 2 depots there, as he's at 53 out of 54, and he realizes what's about to happen. Supply block, everyone's worst nightmare, and I think he was a little shocked by the Reaper, the Hellion count that he ran into, so maybe just a little distracted at that moment. Bunny, on the other hand, has not really been missing a beat with his production, and this is going to allow him to catch back up. I was saying, oh, tech advantage should go to HeroMarine. Supply block undoes that. So a small unforced error for HeroMarine is going to get rid of that tech lead he had, and now it's just, okay, you're in a very similar circumstance, but you're down 4 SCVs.
Well, first Raven's going to be, or second Raven's going to be popping on out over here for HeroMarine. Does queue up a third Raven as well, and Bunny's still sharking around, but now he's got that Cyclone, the Power Cyclone, looking for any opportunities to lock onto some units, get some free pickings over here. These early game micro battles can often just times boost some of that confidence level. Sometimes you can find some really big snags with the force of a Raven or a medevac or something. But so far, both these players have been microing pretty well, making sure they're not taking any big losses. And the scan actually comes down from Bunny, confirm what's happening inside that main base of HeroMarine. He is going to be the third command center finished up, and the tech lab on that factory producing those Siege Shanks, as well as additional Ravens.
It's mech time, Fear Dragon!
Wow. Right as the scan disappears.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those scans you're like, there's no clear evidence of either one just yet, so you don't really know. He might already be thinking about it, but HeroMarine apparently is liking the mech at the moment as Bunny drops extra barracks and his stim to go in that direction. HeroMarine's going to expand along the edge of the map in a straight line, which of course will make it so Bunny can't kind of like pick up and run around him. Actually, Bunny is really getting in deep here. I didn't think he was going to push, but he was really looking for an angle.
Quite a few units, and HeroMarine's finally going to catch wind of this. His Siege Tank is already sieged up, and that looks like with the scan coming down, he's going to be enough to push Bunny back. Now, HeroMarine really needs to keep an eye out on this army. He needs to know the angle because both the third base and the natural have an open location that can be very difficult to defend both at the same time. But if you're in position, you will have the tools needed to try and defend.
Oh, he's going for it. He's going for it. Okay. Oh, you could tell Bunny really wanted to take that, but he says, oh, you know what? Don't quite have the position just yet. Third tank just rolling on up. There's 3 tanks for HeroMarine setting up as well. Viking advantage is going to be really important. If you've got that, you can just kind of start the air fight, initiate, and actually get ahead. But you can see 2 Vikings ahead for Bunny. They are rallying across the map, so maybe HeroMarine could pick a fight when they have even numbers. It's going to be dicey, though.
It's important to note that as all this is happening, HeroMarine has got his factory started on up, but here we go. HeroMarine going to try and charge on forward. Interference Matrix is coming out on those siege tanks. Auto turrets being thrown down on both sides. On the top right-hand side, we see Bunny's army is starting to overpower HeroMarine's a little bit. His siege tanks are still alive as well, and the Interference Matrix siege tanks are all starting to go down. Bunny claiming victory in the fight. HeroMarine still has a bit of supply left over, but I think a lot of it's in production. SCVs have to come off the line to help defend.
Oh, SCVs into the aliens. That's not what you want. Their flamethrower is getting maximum splash damage there. And that is going to be a devastating, devastating victory for Bunny. 32 SCVs killed. And he's not even done yet. He's still got units forward on HeroMarine's side of the map. HeroMarine there just took a devastating loss, and it looked like the numbers were close, but it just shows how even just 1 or 2 units make such a big difference. And I'm not sure if that goes back to the earlier supply block or some other small mistake, but Bunny just, even though his Ravens were slow to the fight, he dropped a harassing auto turret. You saw the interference matrix went down first for HeroMarine, but you've got to remember that because HeroMarine was the one attacking, he had to move his tanks in range, then siege them up. So the auto turrets, you know, the interference matrices, all that stuff got used by Bunny in time. Was able to clean it up, and now dropping a 4th command center, talk about taking a lead.
Yeah, I want to note that well before any of those big trades just happened, we saw that Bunny saw HeroMarine was well set up, well defended. He started up his +1 weapons for the infantry, and he's about to finish that up. So +1 infantry weapons plus the armor for his bio is going to make these engagements even tougher for HeroMarine. Now, HeroMarine did have all of his factories only just starting to finish up. He didn't have the burst of production, and still going to be pretty hard to have a burst of production after losing so many SCVs, but he is looking to do something here. The awkward thing is he doesn't know Bunny is already on his side of the map, and I'm not sure that Bunny knows that HeroMarine's about to be on his.
Indeed. Bio stimming on forwards, going to be diving on. No, he's pulling home. Oh, so surprised by this army. HeroMarine with a desperate counter push. Bunny changes his mind. He says, no, actually, let's go in. Tanks and aliens, if they can get up on the high ground, maybe he can defend the ramp and the production, but he's not going to be able to raise his depot. The tank's going to get some shots off, but the bio already cleansing it. And look at that, quick boost up onto the high ground. He gets in there. HeroMarine on the other side has a siege up on the bottom of the ramp. Vikings taking out some of those units on the high ground. But of course, Bunny has so much production in this main, and every cycle that he's allowed to build more Marauders is a big problem for HeroMarine.
It is going to be a massive problem. HeroMarine clearly down a lot of supply, but it is mostly workers right now. Bunny still yet to try and find an escape mechanism for these SCVs to get on out of there, but Bunny also has the bottom base just south of that main base that he's at right now. So Bunny is actually killing off these command centers over here in the main base of HeroMarine. HeroMarine is trapping in a lot of units, but he's still also going to be finding some trades here. He's going to be bleeding out more and more units. And at the end of the day, Bunny feels like he's going to have a longer-term game plan.
Yep, Bunny's got just way more tools on the board right now, more pieces. And, you know, sometimes it's like, hey, a queen can be worth a whole lot of pawns. Well, they're kind of basically working with the same pieces. So when you've got 2.5 times as much supply, it's pretty darned good for you. As you said, Bunny is still mining from the bottom. He does finally get supply blocked, which cuts his production off. But he's got money coming in. This handful of tanks is, of course, the last chance for HeroMarine, but a big bio army there is preparing. And I think when Bunny comes back, he's just going to set up a flank, come in from the other side of his natural, collapse on it with a giant spready of Marauders.
Yeah, a couple of these factories going to get picked off. That is the final orbital command, but here we go. Bunny pulls the boys a little bit before the rest of his army arrived and ends up losing quite a few SCVs. That is the single way I think HeroMarine can start trying to find some even up of this army supply. Vikings almost pick off one of those medevacs while units are still inside of it, and HeroMarine takes the air superiority lead. And you mentioned the supply block earlier. It means that while Bunny is now unsupply blocked, he didn't really have a lot of units actually being produced right there. HeroMarine really tying up these army supplies like quite a bit, and he's gotten his orbital command to a place he can start mining from with production. Are you kidding me? He flew them across the entire map.
Heck yeah, a couple of factories, a barracks command center starts mining with mules. The dream is alive. Well, it is in the fan of Big Gabe's, you know, mines, but right now there is a small chance, and HeroMarine's doing everything he can to work it back into a realistic chance. course, Bunny has not really dropped the ball, though. He's got actually 5 tanks of his own. So he's got more tanks than Big Gabe, and he's got Marines and Marauders. And the moment he takes the Viking advantage, he's going to take out these Vikings and Ravens. And when that happens, HeroMarine is in huge trouble because he won't be able to spot the high ground.
Does HeroMarine know about that right center base? I think he doesn't. He hasn't seen it. And I really wonder if he's misjudging the situation, thinking that Bunny is effectively not mining right now.
Yeah, I mean, he knows that he would have floated a base down to the right. Does he know that there's 2 bases down there mining? Definitely not. Yeah, this is, of course, very hard position as the factory does start getting sieged from the left side. And tanks trying to move their way forwards there for HeroMarine. The tanks of Bunny are going to back off. They don't want to get caught out by the siege tanks of HeroMarine. And this, you know, it's your last chance in the group. This is the final match of Group C. And HeroMarine and Bunny both group leaders. So HeroMarine's like, hey, I might be able to pull a wizard out of a hat. Maybe it's a 2% chance. But who knows? You never know your opponent's state of mind. And this is the thing, is not only is there hidden information in the Fog of War, there's also your opponent's mindset. We've seen so many throws in StarCraft. And these sort of high tense, like, situations where there's a base trade and there's like a lot of unknowns. How big's their army? How big's their economy compared to mine? People just make really silly mistakes because we get to see everything and it seems simple from our vantage. It's not when you're playing there. You're floating factories around the map and you're rebuilding your depots and your Vikings. This is a really hard situation to play out. And even an amazing top tier pro gamer like Bunny could mess it up.
Yep. In HeroMarine's mind, he might even just be thinking, well, I've had this Viking count lead for such a long time. Maybe I can start making something happen with this. But now the Viking count is leading in favor of Bunny. He target fires down HeroMarine's Vikings one by one. The air superiority lead is gone. That means that HeroMarine now, if he wants to have vision of his opponent's siege tanks, has to scan off of one orbital command. HeroMarine is going to try and move up to the high ground, loses a tank as he realizes there's still a lot of bio there. GG gets called, and Bunny is going to take the series 2-1.
A rough game 1, but a decisive game 2 and game 3.